Years ago, when I first started doing YouTube videos, I was active in the online atheist community. And if there's one thing the online atheist community taught me, it's that most of the people who got internet famous from it were huge pieces of shit. But if there are two things the online atheist community taught me, it's a fairly decent layman's understanding of logical fallacies. Atheists, particularly of the Richard Dawkins, Sam Harris, new atheist type, love logical fallacies, and it's not difficult to see why. Logical fallacies are neat, they're simple, they're basic contradictions in the thinking underlying an argument. What you're saying can't be true because of this. This position is nonsensical because of that. Your argument is invalid. Appealing to logical fallacies is like a shortcut to proving someone objectively wrong. They're easy, and that's why so many people in the online atheist community favored them, because the online atheist community was overflowing with smug, stunningly lazy intellects. But I'm not here to talk about the online atheist community. I'm here to talk about logical fallacies, and one logical fallacy in particular, and how it relates to the presidential election we just had here in the United States. The fallacy I'm talking about is called the argument from incredulity. And it's pretty simple. When someone commits the argument from incredulity fallacy, they're saying that something can't be true because they can't believe it, or because they can't understand it. This sort of argument pops up a lot in conspiracy theorist thinking. People landed on the moon? I don't believe it. The Twin Towers fell because a couple of planes crashed into them? How gullible are you? One shooter fired all those shots at JFK? Yeah, right. What makes this a fallacy is the fact that reality is not contingent on our capacity to accept it or to grasp it. What happens, happens. What is true, whether we can bring ourselves to believe it or not. There's a lot of incredulity flying around in American politics at the moment. For the past few years, the most obvious examples of it have been coming from the right. Donald Trump refusing to accept that he lost the 2020 election. Joe Biden? How could I have lost to this guy? There's no way so many more people voted for him than for me. That's an argument from incredulity. It's fed by toxic ego and narcissism and entitlement, but ultimately that's what it is, an argument from incredulity. I didn't lose because I can't imagine any way I could have lost. But at the same time, there was quite a bit of incredulity on the left as well. How did this guy get the nomination again? Why are so many people still supporting him? Since Trump won the election last week, that kind of incredulity has only been amplified. And here are two important points I want to make. First, there's nothing inherently wrong with incredulity itself. It's an emotional response to a surprising or overwhelming situation. It's fine to be incredulous at the election of Donald Trump. It's fine to think, how did this happen? How could this have happened again? I'm right there with you. But here's the second point we need to remember. Our incredulity won't protect us. The incredulity of Democrats and progressives leading up to the election was not a factor in our favor. He can't possibly win again, can he? After everything he's done? After all the horrible things he said, after the criminal prosecutions, the national disgrace that he's become, the American people can't possibly be this dumb. And yet, the incredulity from our side since the election isn't helping either. Harris got 10 million fewer votes than Biden did in 2020? That can't be right. Someone must have hacked the voter machines to steal the election for Trump. Okay. Hey, if compelling evidence is uncovered indicating that actually happened, I'll certainly have no trouble believing it. It's not that I think Trump or someone on his side wouldn't do that, but I don't need to believe they did do it in order to account for the election result, and neither should you. What country have you been living in? You know the most dangerous expression of incredulity I've heard in the wake of Trump winning the election this time? This isn't who we are. And you know what makes that so dangerous? It's the same thing that was said by many of the same people when Trump won in 2016. Being incredulous in the aftermath of a shocking event is understandable. But when that same event happens over and over again and you still can't believe that it happened, it's time to open your eyes. If we want to turn this around, if we want to win the next election, assuming there is one, but that's a whole other problem, we need to shake off our incredulity and accept some uncomfortable truths. One of those truths is that Donald Trump's message, our problems are easily solved, immigrants and other outgroups are to blame, I will fix everything, is genuinely appealing to a lot of people. You and I may find it pandering and disingenuous and juvenile, not to mention bigoted, but that message is compelling to many people in a nation of easily frightened fools, which is what we are. The incredulity of Republicans and others on the right won't protect us either. When people on our side express fear and anxiety about what could happen during a second Trump administration, the response we often get from their side is, oh, calm down, he's not even going to do most of that stuff. Yeah, he said he was going to be a dictator on day one. He said he was going to use the federal government to go after his enemies. He said he was going to deport 20 million people. He's not actually going to do it. That attitude didn't stop him, did it? It didn't stop him from trying to implement a ban on Muslims entering the country. It didn't stop him from appointing Supreme Court justices who ruled to overturn Roe v. Wade. It didn't stop him from trying to steal the 2020 election after he lost it. If someone voted for Trump because they thought he would lower the price of milk and eggs, and they hand-waved all the fascism he has repeatedly promised to do because they don't believe he's actually going to do it, they're one of those fools I was just referring to. Speaking of fascism, and when we speak of Donald Trump, fascism is always the subject, there's another statement of incredulity that if we hope to survive these next 4 years and come out of them in a position to begin repairing the damage that's about to be done, we absolutely must guard ourselves against. It can't happen here. I think this might be the most threatening form of American exceptionalism. A lot of people who support Trump argue that he isn't a fascist because, well, he can't be. This is America. We don't do that here. Trump and his incoming administration are going to take advantage of that incredulity and use it as a shield as they attempt to impose fascism, because they know what they are, no matter what they choose to call it. Our institutions won't protect us. An institution is a group of people. That's all it is, a group of people operating according to rules and norms made by people that can be changed by people or ignored by people. Trump and his people have shown that they are willing, even eager, to light those institutions and their rules and norms on fire. They're about to get another opportunity to do just that. I don't tell you this to discourage you or to bum you out. I'm telling you to remind you, whether you need the reminder or not, that you refusing to believe things will get that bad isn't going to stop things from getting that bad. If you care, and you should, if you don't want Trump and his allies to succeed in destroying our democratic institutions and replacing them with autocracy, oligarchy, plutocracy, and you shouldn't, then you need to get involved. Getting involved can mean different things for different people. It can mean becoming more active in your local Democratic Party. It can mean participating in mutual aid in your community. It can mean taking part in protests, sit-ins, acts of civil disobedience. It can mean using your platform, if you have one, to speak out, to inform people, to keep these issues front of mind. And if you could have voted in this election but didn't, specifically if you could have voted for Kamala Harris in this election but didn't, it can mean, and should mean, that you get serious about what your vote actually means and how you use it from now on. Voting is not the only action necessary to defeat the threats we face. Voting alone is not enough, but voting is the bare minimum. And if you are eligible, there is no excuse not to vote, and not to use your vote in the most effective way possible. If you didn't vote this time, you should already be planning to vote next time. And by next time, I don't mean 2028, I mean 2026. And not November 2026 either. Find out when your state holds its primary elections if you don't know already. Earlier this year, I made a video where I said we could go a long way toward fixing the problems that afflict this nation and its people if every progressive-minded eligible voter from the center all the way out to the farthest of the far left, voted in every single election, primary and general, midterm and presidential. 2 votes every 2 years. And if you're an eligible voter in the United States, I'm talking to you. In order to be ready to stop the worst from happening, you first need to believe that the worst can happen. Too many of us didn't believe it. And now, instead of preventing it, we need to find ways of dealing with it as it happens. It won't be easy. There are more setbacks yet to come, big ones, devastating ones. You need to prepare yourself. You need to believe that. But we can endure those setbacks. And if we do, we can turn things around, regain the territory we've lost, and start building a better future. You need to believe that, too.